don't know if your paths crossed.
Yeah, so his father was a player at LaSalle, and then when I was just getting into coaching, he was an assistant coach at LaSalle, maybe trying to help recruit Kobe. And so I used to work the LaSalle camp and knew his father then, and it was always like a rumor like Kobe Bryant might be playing in the counselor game and things, and just kind of thinking, how good could he be? He was only say 16, 17, but so just through that a little bit, and we recruited Greg Robbins from Lower Merion, and a lot of the same people were still at Lower Merion that were there for when Kobe was played there. So incredible tragedy for everybody, and certainly an icon.
What do you remember of him from those games? I mean, did he stand out even at that age?
Oh yeah, amazing. Just unbelievable. You couldn't believe that somebody so young could be so talented and just better than everybody already, and super confident, but also relentless and incredible player.
You've got guys on your team that grew up watching him.
Yeah.
Were influenced by him. Did any of them come to you, or as a coaching staff,
Yeah.
how do you guys handle a loss like that for them?
Yeah, so we talked about it. We met yesterday right before we practiced and talked about it a little bit. And I think it's a really tragic thing. He was obviously incredibly young, but also seemed that he would have an amazing next 40 years also. And so I think it's just so stunning for everybody. And I think for the guys, if they haven't lost somebody close to them yet, this probably feels like it's a lot closer because of how familiar everybody was with Kobe, and in this day and age with his personal life and those kinds of things. So I'm sure it affected the guys a fair amount.
Tomorrow night, you guys have a game?
Yeah.
Your teams always seem to handle that atmosphere better than most.
Yeah.
Can you put your finger on why? Is it as simple as the fact that you go there every year
Yeah.
and there's such a familiarity between the players?
I think it's close to that. I think it's because of the rivalry is probably the biggest reason, I would say. That they're a tremendous program who we have great respect for, but the games are naturally just a little bit more intense because of the rivalry, the proximity of the schools, the familiarity with some of the players, playing twice a year. I don't. I hope we handle it well tomorrow. And I feel like, traditionally, probably the bigger reason is we've had good guards, and we've been able to a certain degree deal with the pressure in terms of moving the ball up and into the front court and getting set up. So that's probably the biggest reason. But I think otherwise, I think it's the rivalry is a really big part of that.
There were parts of Saturday's game where, personally, it looked like you guys were playing some of your best basketball of the season. Did you see spurts like that on Saturday, and how do you make those longer and extend them out to where you might get to closer to a 40-game version of that?
Yeah, that's a great point. I do. I thought we played, amazingly. They had great offensive numbers. I thought we played pretty good defense in the half court. They had 21 points on 7 turnovers. One was a shot clock violation, so 21 fast break points on 7. We only had 7 turnovers. Those numbers aren't correlated, but they usually do have a lot to do with one another. So, but I think we played well and competed and stuck in there. And I think one thing about Dayton that's impressive is that they don't go through droughts for very long, and most teams, if not all other teams, do go through droughts, and that's something important to us, to be able to score consistently and get their right shots all the time, stay aggressive, no matter what lineups on the court and things like that. So I think we took a lot of positives out of Saturday's game.
Maybe after a loss like Dayton, you might think about that for a couple of days, or the team would think about it. But you don't have that option now. I mean, it's in the rearview mirror automatically.
Yeah, for sure. This part of the schedule is obviously incredibly daunting. To play Dayton and then at VCU back to back, and a little bit quicker turnaround than we're used to in terms of Saturday to Tuesday. So that's the way the schedule was introduced and laid out, and that's why we have to play. But our guys were good yesterday. We met yesterday before we practiced and talked about how you have to go into this kind of rivalry game, this environment at the Siegel Center, with maturity. And we talked about that the first step of that maturity was practicing well yesterday, which we did. So hopefully that will bear out tomorrow night.
You were talking about the rivalry, and it's always a rivalry. It's always a good matchup and an exciting matchup. That said, does it add juice to it when you guys are both in the top tier of the A-10?
Yeah, sure. I think that it's an important game for both teams. Both teams are really trying to compete for the title. At this point, it seems like Dayton is really in a good way, having already played St. Louis and VCU and Richmond. But we want to try to compete for the title. It's a long season. This is toward the end of the first round of the conference season, the 8th game, and so it makes it that much more exciting and probably intense.
What jumps off the film about them to you guys? I mean, it's VCU, so they do some of the same things every year, but anything unique about this year's team that you guys have to prepare for?
Yeah, well, I mean, Santos Silva is such an impressive player, and having seen him improve from his freshman year to now is really something really, really impressive, and a credit to him personally and to their program. Their depth, is usually very good. I would say really good this year. Highland has been sensational, and then the pressure is what you notice the most. I think that without even trying, we've studied them so closely over the course of time, and while their press might be a little bit different here or there, the constant pressure and the relentless pressure, that's the biggest part of the game, and that's the most noticeable thing.
Didn't materialize. Do you view VCU in the same respect? An opportunity to increase your portfolio?
I think we're definitely thinking about that, but I think that's probably the furthest thing on our mind in terms of working on our at-large chances or anything like that. I think we're probably just focused on the game. It's an important game in terms of us trying to win the league and us trying to get a better standing for the league tournament. And obviously it's just a big game just in general. So I think that's probably the most important thing about the game.
Nick, with both of you guys, you and them out to the starts that you're on. How does that add juice to this? I mean, it's always a rivalry. It's always a good game. It's always, exciting. But how does that add juice when you guys are both playing in the top tier of the A-10?
It makes it a lot more fun. Obviously, you want the games to be competitive, and they're always going to be pretty competitive games. But I think it's even better when there's something on the line. There's something that both teams can kind of take away from each other if you win the game. So, my freshman year, we went there and we both had pretty identical records, and that was a really big game. It's a fun environment. I'm looking forward to another one tomorrow.
How does it add juice that you didn't play in this game last year?
Yeah, I'm so excited. This is definitely one of the few games that I had circled, just going there. It always stinks when you go watch a game and you feel like you can help, and I feel like last year I definitely could have helped, and you see how some of the things that happened at the game, some of the antics and stuff like that, so definitely get a chance to go over there and right some wrongs.
You guys always seem to handle the atmosphere over there very well. Is there something you can put your finger on? Maybe it's because you play there every single year. What is it about that atmosphere that doesn't really rattle you guys like it does other teams?
I think that for us, I think they're just across the street. So for a lot of other people, they might view that team as a big game. They might view it as something that atmosphere that they're not really used to. For us, we see them around the city. We might play pickup with them sometimes. We know them. We're familiar with the school, all that stuff. So that obviously it's a tough environment. It's one of the tough environments that we play in. But I think that sometimes when you're not used to the environment, like for us, when we go to St. Bonaventure, that's a really exciting trip because that's not an environment that we're used to. We come here every year. We know about the Siegel Center. I grew up there, so for us, and I guess for me personally, it's just another gym.
Along those lines, how does that make that extra special for you, having seen this rivalry from you, I suppose you get a hold of basketball to now, not be playing it?
Yeah, it's awesome. I think growing up, you see this is the type of games that make you want to play college basketball. You grow up watching rivalries all over the country, and then you have one that's so special in your backyard that you get to go to often. Like I said, I remember growing up there, going to the VCU Richmond game, holding up signs for VCU, unfortunately. But yeah, just growing up and seeing the rivalry, seeing how great the games are, seeing how great the players are, seeing how much the fans care about it. So it's really cool that I'm going to get to tell my children and tell my friends and family about playing this.
There's a damning photograph of you somewhere, isn't there, holding up a sign? Now, did Kobe Bryant influence your game at all?
Yeah, Kobe Bryant was my favorite player growing up. Yesterday was a pretty tough day. I'm a lifelong Lakers fan, and the reason I'm a Lakers fan is because of Kobe. Just how hard he played, all that stuff. I have a big fat head up on my wall that I had since I was like 8 or 9. So every day before I went to bed, I used to talk to Kobe. Remember some of my roughest times growing up. I used to come home and watch Kobe highlights. So it was a tough day, and he means a lot to a lot of people. And it really was a really tough time, especially for me.
Is there any Kobe Bryant memories that you have, like maybe watching him play in terms? You mentioned some circumstances, but any game that stick out to you? The 81.1, maybe his last game. Does any one stick out to you in general? Yeah,
they were playing the New Orleans then Hornets at the time. It was maybe the year he tore his Achilles. They were down like 15 in the fourth quarter. And I remember watching NBA TV on a random Thursday night, just watching how he carried that team to the 8th seed that year. That was the one game that really stuck out to me. So that's the game that I go back and watch pretty much weekly because just the intensity and how much he wanted to get to the playoffs so badly. And that game, I think, really showed it because, again, they were down in the fourth quarter. Some people might take that as a meaningless regular season game, but he approached it like it was, the championship, and that's something that's always going to stick with me.
Were you guys together at all when you heard yesterday, or were you in your dorm or somewhere? How did you get the news?
I was in my dorm, and some teammates and some friends texted me about it. I didn't really believe. You never know what to believe nowadays, and some of the initial reports were a little up and down. But once the news started trickling in, it was pretty tough.
Anything else for Nick, Gus?
I've seen your grandfather in a Richmond shirt a couple of times sitting up here.
Mm-hmm.
Will he wear a Richmond shirt tomorrow night?
We'll see. I doubt it, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
You had some strong comments after the game about the students that were here. What was the reaction that you got from what you said, the words that you had after the game, and how many people have reached out to you, and what have you heard about it?
It's been a pretty strong reaction, pretty positive. A lot of professors at the school, a lot of friends and stuff have reached out to me, but I didn't want my comments to be the main part of anything that happened at the game. I think there was a lot more important things than what I said. I just wanted that to be a small part of it. I felt really strongly about what happened and about the protests happening at our game, and again, I didn't want to put myself at the center of it at all. So the response and all that stuff are cool, and it's nice to have that support, but all the support should go to the students that had the strength to go protest.